Hello Internet! Welcome to this week's Wednesday serial. I'm going to be discussing Amazing Spider-Man number 3, the most recent obviously, not the past however many other Amazing Spider-Man number 3s there have been. Interesting side note, they don't apparently have to print what volume they're at in the little legal blurb anymore. I find that a bit disconcerting, as that makes it even harder to organize and catalog. I mean, I'll be fine doing it for Amazing Spider-Man. This is one of those collections I'm just on top of, and it's apparent to me. Like, I can just look at the cover and gauge what age we're in of it. But there's been other books where in order for me to figure out where you're at, I kind of have to flip in and look at the volume number. Or there was a long period, especially in 90s X-Men, where I had to flip in and look at that legal block text just to figure out what the issue was, because they didn't do a good enough job of printing it on the cover. That's something that I think should be amended, and since it all equates to them printing a V dot whatever number they're on, that's just necessary. So anyways, beyond that pointless quibble to most people, I found this issue wanting. So this is the big reveal of Parker Industries taking over the Baxter building, and the Human Torch has something to say about them. They get into a fight. They kind of make light of the fact that they get into a fight anyways and kind of play on some good old history there, which seems like it would be alright, but it's done so goofy. It just kind of takes me aback and just seems like, really? We're here? We're doing this now? And I'm confused because I don't know why the Baxter building isn't held by the Fantastic Four right now. I don't know what happened there, and it's annoying. There's a few other things that happen in this issue that I feel are part of Marvel lore, and I just don't understand. I don't know what's going on. So I'm hoping that we can move on from these sort of things really quickly. There's a big plot being set up, and it seems like we're going to go into a relatively big arc. I hope nothing as big as like a Spider-Verse or Spider Island or anything, and I know it won't be because there hasn't been promotions and whatnot. But, you know, just maybe a 6-issue chunk of Spider-Man, which would be a big arc, and that's how it should be, is 6 issues being a big story and smaller stuff leading into it. I don't know. I have no idea. Maybe it'll just be a couple issue thing. I just, it feels big. But we have Human Torch in the rafters now, which I guess means Fantastic Four characters are up for grabs. I know the Thing's part of the Guardians of the Galaxy, which is supposed to make a kind of sense, and a few other things. I just, there's a few other things in here that hit me as particularly odd. The way J. Jonah Jameson was handled was definitely in light of the classic understanding of him being the head of the media, but now he's this TV show pundit, which in a way works, but is kind of odd. And there's no mention of the fact that they're family, really, and that whole thing that they were building up to something with just seems to have kind of been hand-waved away. There's another bit in here where Harry Osborn shows up, and he feels like not him. There's some stuff about him being Peter's best friend. He apparently forgot that Peter's Spider-Man, which of the handful of characters that happen to, because Human Torch remembers that Peter Parker's Spider-Man, but Norman not is weirder. And for me, growing up in the 90s, that was the big thing, was Harry as the Green Goblin. And have him be this emasculated version of himself that's not using the Osborn name and is just kind of dawdling along in this businessman is weird and drastically out of place and doesn't make sense. Harry Osborn's been ridden away for so long that if he doesn't have a neurosis or have some mental baggage going on, it doesn't feel like his character. And to just have him being the hapless wit along on the ride just doesn't work. And maybe that will be played off of later, but the way he was presented in this comic just did not feel like Harry Osborn. It's probably the single worst bit of character work I've seen Dan Slott do in his tenure of Spider-Man. It's really off. And then, yeah, there's a little more on that. And here that's going to be played off later, but how that's going to play off of stuff, even including with what happened with Goblin Nation and all that, I don't know, because we really haven't seen Harry since the American Son thing. And whether or not you like that whole thing, that's fair. But when Slott was writing that, at least was that even Slott then? Because Slott had some hand in it, I know, at the very least. The character was in a new place, but on point. And here is just off. So we have all these different things, and I feel like Spider-Man's been through so many really big reboots in the past few years. We're here, and we're the third issue in where the dust should start settling. And it just feels alien as someone who's been reading Spider-Man for ever. This is just... It's going to be hard. I don't know. This isn't the thing I signed up for. It has some interesting parts. It's a decent comic, but this ain't the thing that I've been reading forever. And I've seen different eras of Spider-Man. I'm willing to go along with changes, but this is Iron Man. There's no two ways around it.